Hi guys, so this video is going to be on multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions in and of themselves is actually fairly easy. There's not a whole lot to remember. The hardest part is probably the simplifying at the end, which is what you have to do with any fractions that you're dealing with. So the first thing that you do when you're going to multiply a fraction is you multiply across. Okay? Numerator times numerator over denominator times denominator. All right? So all you do is you literally multiply across, and then number two, as always, the last step, simplify. Okay? Always, always, always have to simplify when we're working with fractions. So if I have 2/3 times 4/5 literally becomes 2 times 4 over 3 times 5. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 5 is 15. Then I ask myself, can I take a 2 out of that? Well, I could out of the 8, but not out of the 15. Can I take a 5 out of that? Well, I could out of the 5, but not out of the 8. Can I take a 3 out of that? Well, I could out of the 15, but not out of the 8. So that's where we're stuck. We can't do anything else to that problem. If I had 1/4 times 2/5. Let's go with that. I have a couple of choices. I can do the exact same thing that I did here. I can do straight up 1 times 2 over 4 times 5. 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 5 is 20. And go, can I take a 2 out of that? Yes, I can. So let's take out the 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 20 divided by 2 is 10. I can do that. Or I can sit there and I can look at this and I can go, hey, there's a 2 and there's a 4. I can get rid of that 2 and take 2 out of that 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I can remake this problem into 1/2 times 1/5, which is equal to 1/10. If you see it, you can do it. If you do not see it, this way works just fine. You do not have to do it the other way. You can do it this way. This way works, okay? This way works every single time. This way is only if you see it. If it's something that pops out at you, that you go, oh, wow, dude, yeah, I can totally do that. If I ended up with something like 3/4 times 4/5, and I look at it and I go, oh my word, I have a 4 on both the top and the bottom. I'm crossing out those 4s. So I end up with 3/1 times 1/5, 3/5, period. Just like that. You can totally do that if you see it. If you don't see it, you'll just end up dividing out the 4 later on. It's fine. It'll work. One other little snafu that you might run into. If you are given something like 1/3 times 3, that 3 has an invisible 1 underneath it. Okay? And once again, you see I have a 3 on the top, I have a 3 on the bottom. So it ends up becoming 1 times 1, which is 1, over 1 times 1, which is 1, and it just ends up becoming a 1. All right? Now let's talk about what happens when you have a mixed number. This one gets a little more hairy, a little more complicated. So multiply mixed numbers. First off, you cannot actually multiply a mixed number. That's the first thing that you need to know. You have to change a mixed number into an improper fraction. Change into an improper fraction. If you do not remember how to do it, there is a video on how to do it which explains it in great detail. I suggest that you go look at it because I'm going to be going through it very quickly. Number 2 is multiply across, just like we did on the other part. And then number 3 is simplify, just like it was on the other part. Okay? So if we have 3 1/3 times 4 2/5, let's say that that's what we have. I go 3 times 3, which is 9, plus 1, which is 10 over 3, times 4 times 5, which is 20, plus 2, which is 22 over 5. 10 times 22, which is, 10 times 22, you just add a 0 onto the end. 220 over 3 times 5, which is 15. Whew. Okay, so now I have that huge number to work with, and I have a choice that needs to be made. Do I want to divide now, or how do I want to divide? Do I want to reduce it? I have a 0 and a 5. That means I can definitely take a 5 out of this. Or do I want to do straight up division first? In this particular case, I think I'm going to do straight up division first. So let's see what that ends up giving us. So 15 into 220. 15 goes into 22 one time because 1 times 15 is 15. I cannot take a 5 out of a 2, so I need to borrow. 12 minus 5 is 7. Bring down the 0. How many times does 15 go into 70? Well, let's try this. 15 times what? If I round, it ends up being a 20, and 2 goes into 7 6 times. So what? No, 2 goes into 7 3 times to make a 6. Let's try the 3 first off. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1, 4. 45, not quite big enough. So if I did it, let's try 5 times, because that's a little low. 45 is kind of low. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2, 7. 75, oh, that's a teeny bit too high. Okay, so we know it has to be between 3 and 5, and the only number between 3 and 5 is 4. So 15 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2, 6. So 4 up there, 60 down here. We end up with 70 minus 60, which is 10. So I end up with this being 14 10/15. And I can then take out my 5 now. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So altogether, it's 14, which is the whole number, and 2/3 for the fraction. So it is 14 and 2/3. And that is how you multiply mixed numbers. Okay, you change both to improper fractions. You multiply across like normal. You divide out. You simplify. And you end up with your mixed number answer. So 3 1/3 times 4 2/5 was 14 2/3. Talk to you later. Bye.